Getting into the brand new Batgirls series, we actually pick up with Batgirl Number One. Now, the first issue is actually reminding us what happened at the end of Fear State. Because when it comes to the Batgirls book, it came right after the ending of Fear State, a crossover Batman event that took place, I want to say a year ago, could be 2 years ago. But either way, one of the bad guys in that event was a character known as Seer. And Seer is apparently just as smart as Barbara Gordon, and with that being said, a very good hacker. And so right now, she's going to be probably the main bad guy for the Batgirls, trying to stop her before she's able to do more damage to Gotham. Now, we actually do pick up with the Batgirls right now. Of course, that would be Barbara Gordon, Cassandra Cain, and Stephanie Brown. All three women were Batgirls at different points in DC Comics. Now, the reason why all three of them are coming together again is to chase after the Seer. The problem is though, again, the Seer is a great hacker, and the Seer was able to hack into the system of Barbara Gordon, which means right now they need to rebuild the system of Barbara Gordon so that Barbara can be able to actually locate the Seer. Now, we are watching all three women come together and move into their new home. Now, with that being said, they're moving into a new area, or well, new to me, called the Hill. And the Hill is actually part of Gotham. Now, with that being said, we do get small hints to what to come or what to come down the road in future videos in this video right here. Like for example, they have a weird creepy old man neighbor, and that old man neighbor is going to be somewhat important for this video and possibly later videos down the road. On top of that, you also have an art poster found by Stephanie Brown, and that art poster is of course trying to tell everyone in the Hill about a new artist, and Stephanie Brown is actually excited about this artist, and this artist is going to be very important for this story and also future stories down the road. Now, you do have Cassandra Cain come back home after getting a few more things out of the moving truck, and that is when you have Barbara Gordon see that something has happened to Cassandra Cain's face, and she wants to know what happened. And you have Cassandra Cain say that there were some thugs who were trying to steal from her. Now, earlier, Barbara Gordon did tell Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain to keep a low profile, and you have Cassandra Cain lie and say that she did keep a low profile. She let the thugs actually steal everything they wanted. But in reality, Cassandra Cain did not do that because she's kind of like, listen, they were trying to steal my favorite bathrobe. No one is going to take that from me. So she did tell Barbara that she let the thugs actually steal everything they wanted, but in reality, she beat them up and actually beat them up and left them outside badly beaten in the alleyway right next to the home of the Batgirls. And honestly, I found that pretty funny, but either way, we gotta move forward. Now, you do have Barbara Gordon mention that she needs to rebuild the network system so that they can stay hidden from Seer, but to also help them find Seer. But in the meantime, they must use some old tech as a way to make sure the Seer is unable to find them. So for example, some old walkie-talkies and other different kind of technology that's not being used in current time in real world and also in DC Comics. But again, it's a way for them to stay hidden from the Seer. Now, you do have Barbara Gordon tell the two girls that they need to go around the hill and put up different little pieces of her network system so that she can begin the process of rebuilding the network system. Now, she does tell the girls that she did give them their own cycles to ride around Gotham or ride around the hill, but of course the girls find a cycle very ugly, and so instead you have Cassandra Cain tell Stephanie Brown that she was able to steal the car from the thugs that she beat up earlier, and this car is going to be the new ride for Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain throughout this whole book, and they're going to call the ride the Bondo. Now, while you have Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown going around the hill and making sure to put up the different pieces to help Barbara Gordon rebuild a new network system, well, that is the moment you have Cassandra Cain see the same thugs that she had beat up earlier. And right now, she sees those thugs attacking some innocent construction workers. And so you have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain dive in to help protect the construction workers from these thugs. But actually, this is the beginning of what's going to give us the main plot line of this video. But either way, you do have our two ladies being Batgirls working together to fight against these thugs. But here comes the big problem though. When they are actually able to defeat the thugs, well, that is when they get attacked by the construction workers. And it's not like the construction workers are actually evil or they were working with the gang. Instead, these construction workers are mind controlled. They're in some kind of mind trance. And right now they're attacking both Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain. Now both ladies are able to see that they are being mind controlled. And so instead of fighting them, you have them use some gadgets as a way to hold them in place until the GCPD can come by and hopefully pick up the thugs, but to also pick up these crazy construction workers that were just attacking Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain. Now, you do have Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown actually arrive at their home again, and they are confronted by Barbara Gordon, who is very upset because the last thing she heard from them was that they were still setting up her new system around the hill. But then they went radio silence because they were dealing with those thugs and those construction workers. And here they are coming back at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's wondering what in the world happened to them. And this is not Barbara Gordon being kind of like that overprotective mother. She's just being that big sister, want to make sure that these two ladies are taken care of and nothing happens to them. On top of that, with them using old gadgets, they have not been able to build any kind of locators to put on each member of the team, so that if they do get captured or something happens to them, well, at the moment, they can't locate that person if they do get kidnapped or something happens to them. But either way, you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain tell Barbara Gordon that, hey, listen, we were out there fighting against some thugs, and then some random construction workers began to attack us, but it seemed like they're being mind controlled, which of course to Barbara Gordon, she knows that that means they need to do some research or detective work to figure out what in the world is going on here in the hill area of Gotham. Now you do have the girls go into their room, and you do have Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown talking to one another about what happened with those construction workers, because it was really weird and their eyes look weird, which means that they were basically being mind controlled, but the question is how and who. But either way though, that is the moment you have Stephanie Brown see that same creepy old man neighbor that I mentioned earlier, and it seemed like right at this moment he's basically dumping a body in a trash can. Now she can't see a body because it's in a bag, or possibly what she thinks is a body is in a bag being thrown in the trash can. Now you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain go over to Barbara Gordon to tell her what they saw, which is that their old man creepy neighbor just dumped a body in a body bag in a trash can. But of course, you do have Barbara say, we can't just go over there and beat him up until we have some hardcore evidence. Now, at this point right here, I'm kind of like, okay, if they just watch this old man dump some kind of body bag in the trash can and Barbara saying they need some evidence, then why not just go over to the body bag and open it up to see, hey, if there's a body in there or not. But either way, you have Barbara tell them to go back to bed. Everything is okay. The old man's just an old man. There's no way he is a serial killer. But of course, the girls do not listen to her, and they're kind of like, fine, if you want some evidence, then we'll go out there and get some evidence for you to prove that old man could be some kind of serial killer. Now, of course, when the girls get outside to look for more evidence to prove that the old man is some kind of serial killer, well, that is the moment they are greeted by a new group of villains who are going by the name the Saints. Now, this group is coming out of Fear State, that Batman crossover event where you had Scarecrow actually attack Gotham, and he was working with a guy known as Simon Saint, and they were trying to outlaw vigilantes because when it came to Gotham, Batman was the protector, and the city of Gotham was kind of in love with Batman and all of his sidekicks. But then you had Simon Saint come in and say, listen, these vigilantes are making things worse, and so we should kick them out of Gotham and watch my new police force do a better job protecting Gotham from any kind of super villains. But either way, in Fear State, Batman and the Bat family were able to actually defeat Scarecrow and Simon Saint. And Simon Saint, the leader of that new police force organization, he died. But this is a group of people who kind of think that Simon Saint is still alive, and he told them to come out here and capture the Batgirls because, again, they were trying to outlaw vigilante work in Gotham. Now, when we jump into the second chapter of this book, we actually pick up with the Saints fighting against the Batgirls. Now, I do want to mention some things about this group, not everything, but some things. Now, honestly, I'm not going to sit down here and explain each character's name and their background story, because in reality, they only appear in this chapter right here and one more chapter down the road, and that is really it. And so honestly, they're kind of like the B or really C plot line of this book. But either way though, this group used to be part of the Magistrate. Of course, the Magistrate was the police force that Simon Saint brought to Gotham as a way to outlaw vigilantes. Now, with that being said, this group was part of that organization, but they were so extreme that the organization hated the idea of having this group carry on their name. And so in reality, they kept this group in the dark. Now, with them being in the dark, they have no idea that the Magistrate is no longer around in Gotham because Batman and the Bat family took out Simon Saint in that organization. And so right now, in reality, they're just attacking the Batgirls because someone is playing mind games on them. Someone is pretending to be Simon Saint and make them attack the Batgirls. Now, you do have Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown leave because they realize they're in reality outnumbered. It's 4 against 2. That is not fair at all. And so you have our Batgirls leave. But now that leads into another problem the Batgirls must deal with a serial killer old man out there, people getting mind controlled, and now you have a mercenary group out there trying to capture the Batgirls. That is 3 different things all happening at once. Now, when the Saints get back to their base, well, that is the moment we come to find out that they are being played because Simon Saint is dead and someone is out there pretending to be Simon Saint to have the Saints go out there and attack the Batgirls. And of course, that one person is the Seer, and the Seer is looking for the Batgirls and hoping to capture them or kill them. Either way, the Seer is the one pretending to be Simon Saint to make the Saints go out there and hunt down the different Batgirls. Now, getting back over to the Batgirls, you do have the Batgirls having a meeting, and you have Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown telling Barbara Gordon everything they learned about the Saints and how the Saints believe that Simon Saint is still alive. And you have Barbara remind us and tell them, hey, we all know that Simon Saint is dead. He died at the end of Fear State. But either way though, you do have Barbara Gordon tell the girls to get back out there and gather more information about the serial killer known as the Ripper. Because remember, when it comes to Stephanie Brown, she saw the old man put a dead body, a body bag in the trash can. And so right now she believes that he is the serial killer. But because they have no hard evidence, you have Barbara say, go out there and find some evidence because now they gave the serial killer a name and they're calling him the Ripper. Now, while the Batgirls are out there looking for more information about the Ripper, well, that is the moment they go to the docks. Now, when they get to the docks, they do see a group of police officers right now building some kind of shrine. Now, this shrine is actually being made out of different stolen goods. And the question is though, why in the world are the police officers doing this in the middle of the docks in the hill? What in the world is going on? But of course, you do not have our Batgirls go in there to stop the cops because again, they don't have any idea what the cops are actually doing here. And they have no idea what they are doing is illegal or legal. They have no idea that these items could be stolen goods. But either way, these cops are making some kind of shrine in the middle of the docks. Now, before Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain are able to get to their base again, we do get reminded that Barbara Gordon is dating Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, because DC finally, and I mean finally, let that happen. Let me tell you guys real quick, small rant. Over the years that I have read DC Comics, DC will always give us a random storyline where Batgirl and Dick Grayson had team up. And when they team up, there's always some kind of flirting, they kiss, they do the nasty, something happens, but they can never officially date. And it always bothered me so much. But of course, I'm finally happy to see that these two are dating. Now, once you have Barbara get off the phone with Dick Grayson, you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain come home and tell Barbara what they saw at the dark, which is that a bunch of police officers are taking stolen goods and building some kind of shrine in the middle of the docks. Now, you do have Stephanie Brown tell Barbara why they did not stop the cops because they were dealing with different burglars, across the hill. And so that is why the cops got away free. But of course, you do have Barbara, I am struggling right now. You do have Barbara tell Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain to go get ready because dinner is almost ready. Now, if you're wondering why in the world I'm kind of talking about the dinner that Barbara Gordon made, it's because when Cassandra Cain goes to get Stephanie Brown to tell her that dinner is actually ready, well, that is the moment we see that Stephanie Brown is texting somebody. But of course, she does not want Cassandra Cain to know about it. And we have no idea who she is texting, but that right there is actually very important. Now, you do have Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown get back out there hoping to find more information about their creepy old man neighbor to see if that maybe, just maybe, he is that new serial killer going around killing people known as the Ripper. But while they're looking out at him, well, that is the moment they see that someone just got robbed, and the person who got robbed is trying to chase the robbers. And so you do have the Batgirls actually jump in to stop the robbers. But here comes the big problem though. You do have the Batgirls actually be able to stop the robbers, and the robbers are the same construction workers we saw earlier who seem to be in some kind of mind control. And the question is though, why in the world are they now attacking and robbing different people across the city? Now, the person who was getting robbed is another neighbor of theirs, and his name is Dhaliwal. I really hope I pronounce his name correctly. I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly. But Mr. D, aka Mr. Dhaliwal, was the one who got robbed. And so, of course, you did have the Batgirls hand over what was robbed from him. Now, you do have Dhaliwal tell the Batgirls that also his crockpot, I don't know why I said crockpot, his crockpot is missing. And so right now he's asking the Batgirls, if you do see my crockpot, can you please bring it to me? It used to belong to my wife. And you have the Batgirls say yes. Now this is where we actually get into the idea of meeting one of our new bad guys of this book, and that bad guy is the Tutor. Yes, he's a tutor. He's going to tutor people in Gotham. But of course, right now, he's trying to paint a picture that Gotham is corrupt, that the government is corrupt, that vigilantes are corrupt, that in reality, what the people need in Gotham is to just be free. So he's kind of like Scarecrow. Instead of using fear as a way to scare people to break away from the government, he wants to use the ability of saying, you are being controlled by the government, by the vigilantes. Look what they are doing to you. And that is what he's trying to do. Now, that is the moment the Batgirls come to find out that whatever kind of chemical gas or what he is using is actually able to control the minds of the people, which means that there is a possibility those construction workers earlier are being mind controlled by him and whatever kind of gas he is using. But here comes the big problem though. Cassandra Cain gets mind controlled. She got hit with the gas when the Batgirls arrived to watch the Tutor give his speech. And when they arrived, they were hit with the gas, except Cassandra Cain is okay. Stephanie Brown is not okay. She's now being mind controlled by the Tutor. Now, when we jump into the third chapter of this story, we actually do see that the mind control that the Tutor is using is not strong on Stephanie Brown just yet, because Cassandra Cain was able to help Stephanie Brown break out of the mind control and tell her, hey, listen, you need to keep it together because we need to stop this man. If this man is able to do that to you and everyone in the area right now around him, he needs to be stopped. And so, of course, you do have Stephanie Brown being able to break out of the mind control. Now, you do have the Batgirls try to capture the Tutor, except the problem is that when they do get close to him, he begins to use the gas on them again. And with the gas being used, of course, it really affects the mind of Stephanie Brown, since she was just mind controlled by him just moments ago. And here she is now, possibly, just possibly, slipping back into being under his control. And so with that being said, you have Cassandra Cain realize she needs to get Stephanie Brown out of here because it seems like she's unable to keep it together with whatever the Tutor had put in his gas. Now, when the Batgirls do get back to their base, you do have Barbara Gordon tell Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain what was in the gas that basically led to Stephanie Brown being mind controlled. And you have Barbara Gordon say the gas is a newer version of fear toxin. And that right there is huge because the fear toxin is usually used by a Batman villain known as the Scarecrow. And the Scarecrow did just attack Gotham back in the Fear State crossover event. But that was a few weeks ago. Here we are now, and somehow the Tutor was able to grab a new version or make a new version of the fear toxin. And with this new version, instead of using it as a way to attack people with their fears, it's somehow being able to mind control people, to make them want to fight against the government, to fight against the vigilantes in Gotham. And honestly, when it comes to the Tutor, he reminds me of many different villains that Batman has fought over the years. But either way though, you do have the Batgirls realize they now have 4 problems to deal with: the Tutor, the serial killer, the Saints, and the Seer. Now, we do pick up with the Batgirls right now, and they actually are attending an art show. Now, of course, this art show is a good place to be at because the Tutor, who's going around being some kind of artist, could most likely appear at this art show in some way. Now, you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain being Batgirls and watching over the art show, while you have Barbara Gordon go into the art show as just Barbara Gordon. Now, here comes the big problem though. She does run into one of her old flings, Charles Dante. Now, Charles Dante was an old fling of Barbara Gordon when she was in college back in Burnside, and I want to say that took place at the tail end of the New 52, but also the beginning of DC Rebirth. I could be wrong, but either way though, he was an old fling. They never really dated. It was more kind of like they liked each other, but Barbara Gordon kind of like moved away from him. Now he is here to tell her what is new with him, that apparently he did get a job at Arkham. But of course, Arkham shut down, and that took place back in Infinite Frontier, where Arkham was attacked by what could have been a Joker attack, but it wasn't, and Arkham got shut down. And so the prisoners of Arkham were sent to different prisons across the world. But either way though, this is him kind of catching up and asking Barbara if they could hang out down the road, hoping that he could possibly be her new boyfriend, even though she got Dick Grayson. But getting back to the art show, let's not forget about what happened at the harbor, that there were a bunch of police officers making a shrine out of stolen goods. That same shrine is here right now at the art show, and that shrine is again a bunch of items that were stolen. And so everyone who's here at this art show is seeing all their items right now being part of this shrine, and they're wondering why in the world is our stuff there? Why in the world would someone steal our stuff to make this? What in the world is going on? And this was a secret plan by the Tutor, because the Tutor does take over everybody's technology to play a message and says, listen, we only live on this earth for like 600,000 hours, and that is it. A third of those hours is used for us to sleep. But the problem is though, the last 2/3 of those hours, you guys want to use bearing your minds and eyes on technology, but not using your mind and your eyes and your bodies to go out there and see the world. And so it is him trying to, again, break people away what has been fed to us by the government and also fed to us by vigilantes, or how the world should be by scientists and engineers. Now, either way though, that tells the Batgirls that he must be nearby. And so while Barbara is hanging out with her ex-fling, you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain go and find the Tutor, who's hiding inside somewhere in the art show. Now, you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain being able to find the Tutor hiding inside somewhere in the art show. But here comes the problem. When they do try to stop him and hopefully arrest him, let's not forget that earlier Stephanie Brown was hit with the gas that gives him the ability to control people's minds. And so with that being said, Cassandra Cain has now had to fight against Stephanie Brown because she fell under his control once again. So it's Batgirl versus Batgirl at the moment. Now Batgirl is trying her best to stop her friend without actually hurting her friend, but at the same time she's also trying to stop the Tutor from getting away. But the problem is, with Stephanie Brown being a great fighter, not as great as Cassandra Cain for different reasons, you do have Cassandra Cain hands full at the moment trying to stop Stephanie Brown, which means that the Tutor was able to get away. But once he does leave, you do have Cassandra Cain being able to calm down Stephanie Brown. Now you do have Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain wondering if they should chase after the Tutor, but you do have Barbara Gordon say that she was able to put some kind of transmitter on him so that she can find him later on. But for right now, the Batgirls need to go back to their base and rest, because if Stephanie Brown's being mind controlled so easily, they need to figure out how in the world can they block that so that they'll be able to actually stop the Tutor. Now, luckily for the Batgirls that they did not follow the Tutor, because the Saints, that evil group we saw earlier, they were actually watching over the art show, and they had their sniper ready to go, hoping that the Batgirls would follow the Tutor and they could just snipe the Batgirls out of the sky. But of course, the Batgirls did not follow the Tutor, and so now the Saints must think of a new plan to actually stop the Batgirls. Now, at the end of the 3rd chapter, we actually do see that you have Barbara Gordon on the phone with Dick Grayson, and she thinks that she's actually talking to Dick Grayson. But while the conversation is going on, well, that is the moment she comes to find out that she is not talking to Dick Grayson, she is talking to the Seer, who was able to use some tech to change her voice to make Barbara Gordon believe that she is talking to Dick Grayson. But this is a Seer seer telling Barbara Gordon that you try to hide in a new area of Gotham, hoping that I would not find you and then y'all could possibly stop me. But in reality, I was able to find you, and I'm beginning the process of actually taking over your new network system that you have built. And this is kind of DC saying the seer is actually a better hacker than Barbara Gordon in some areas. But either way, Barbara Gordon begins to freak out because it's kind of like she just built up this new network system for her and the Batgirls to hopefully capture the seer, and the seer was able to just break down her new network just like that. Now we do jump into the 4th chapter, and when we do, we actually pick up with the Batgirls getting the day off because Barbara Gordon realized that their caseload is very heavy with the Seer, the Saints, the killer out there known as the Ripper, and now the Tutor. They realize they have a lot going on, that the Batgirls need a day off. Now she also tells us that she was able to rebuild a new network system to block out the Seer once again, but the Batgirls do have a day off. Now you do have the Batgirls actually take their new car and go see Mr. Dhaliwal's brand new bookstore. And again, I really hope I pronounce his name correctly. But either way, they do go to the bookstore and they do get free books from him because they were able to find the crock pot that belonged to his wife at that shrine the police officers were making in the earlier parts of this video. But either way though, while he's kind of giving them free books, that is when the creepy old man neighbor walks in. And of course, to Stephanie Brown, she really believes that he is the Ripper, that he is the serial killer going around killing people in the hill. But of course, they don't have any hard proof to prove that he is the actual killer. But you do have Stephanie Brown say that they should technically watch over him to make sure that he is not the killer. Now, while she's trying to watch over the old man, she does run into Charles Dante. And remember, Charles Dante is the ex-fling of Barbara Gordon. But here comes the big problem though. When she runs into him, Charles Dante says he remembers Stephanie Brown at the art show. The problem is Stephanie Brown was at the art show, but she was Batgirl. She was not herself, and she never ran into Charles Dante. And now the question is, how in the world, or why in the world, this man is saying that it's nice to see her again after seeing her at the art show. Now we do pick up with the Batgirls right now at the nighttime going out there into the city to hopefully find the Tutor. Because remember, earlier in the video, Batgirl did place, or one of the Batgirls did place a transmitter on the Tutor so that they'll be able to find him later on, but to also give Stephanie Brown some time until she is ready to go after him. Now, while they're heading towards his secret base, they have no idea that they are being tailed by the Saints. Of course, the Saints are that group of mercenaries who want to get rid of the Batgirls because the Seer is lying to them that Simon Saint said, go out there and get rid of the Batgirls. And so the Batgirls could possibly have two problems to deal with here in a moment. Now, just like earlier, what we saw when the Batgirls are able to get close to the Tutor, he is able to once again mind control Stephanie Brown. And with her being mind controlled, of course, that means we're about to have another battle between the Batgirl versus Batgirl thing. And so you do have Stephanie Brown fight against Cassandra Cain. Now, this is huge because you do have Cassandra Cain still try her best to help Stephanie Brown break free of that mind control by just reminding her who she is, that she is a strong woman, that she should not fall under his control. And so after a good amount of pages, you do have Cassandra Cain being able to have Stephanie Brown break free of the control of the Tutor. And the Tutor is very shocked to see that she is able to break free from his control. Now, the Batgirls are actually able to defeat the Tutor, and when they do, of course, that means they're able to arrest him. But now the question is, where do you take someone like him if Arkham is no longer around? Well, there are other facilities in the area that do the same thing that Arkham was doing. Matter of fact, Dante, the old fling of Batgirl, he has his own facility where he is doing similar things that Arkham did as a way to help out insane people. And so Batgirl, or Barbara Gordon, tells the Batgirls to take the Tutor after arresting him over to her friend Dante, and he will basically take care of them, or him. Except this is the moment we get our big plot twist of the book, because we come to find out the Tutor is not the one in charge at all. Because right after the Batgirls had dropped off the Tutor over Dante's facility, well, we come to find out who is really behind all the mess going on in the Hill. And that person is Dante himself. And he is going to be the new version of the Spellbinder. Now, we have multiple Spellbinders in the past of DC Comics, sometimes in Batman Beyond and other books as well, but this is a new Spellbinder who is going to be a new villain for Batgirl, or all the Batgirls, and their rogue gallery. But either way, Dante is now evil. He is a Spellbinder, and he is the one behind all of the attacks going on in the Hill that the Tutor has done over the last couple weeks. Now, to begin the 5th chapter of the book, we actually pick up with the Batgirls right now fighting against the Saints. Of course, the Saints are a group of people who believe that Simon Saint is still alive, and he told them to go capture the Batgirls or get rid of them because Simon Saint's goal back in Fear State was to outlaw the vigilantes. But either way though, at the middle or the end of the 4th chapter of this book, the Batgirls were going to capture the Tutor, and they were being followed by the Saints. And so that is why right now in the 5th chapter, you have the Saints fighting against the Batgirls. But this is also the first moment we see Barbara Gordon being Batgirl in this title, because in the first 4 chapters, she was really more like Oracle back in the early 2000s when she was in a wheelchair and kind of supporting the Batman family through computer needs. And so right now is her being Batgirl out there in the field with the rest of the Batgirls fighting against the Saints. And this battle does go on for a tad bit, for a couple pages, but of course you do have the Batgirls being able to actually defeat the Saints, and that is a huge win because now they have one of their many problems handled, which means they can put most of their focus on the other problems like the Ripper, the serial killer, or of course we know that Spellbinder is going to be another new threat. And on top of that, they can still search for the Seer, who was the one who tricked the Saints to go after the Batgirls in the first place. Now, when the Batgirls thought they were finally going to have a break, that is the moment you have Stephanie Brown tell the rest of the Batgirls what is happening at the moment. That apparently the Tutor had escaped from the hands of Dante. And with that happening, you have Batgirl, or Barbara Gordon, begin to freak out. Because remember, in the last chapter, after they were able to actually defeat the Tutor, they handed him over to Charles as a way to make sure he gets some kind of medical help. But apparently he was able to break free from the hands of Charles, and now he's back in the city causing problems. Now, we know what actually happened, that Charles Dante is actually a new villain known as Spellbinder, and Spellbinder is the one behind all of this. But either way, you do have Barbara Gordon tell the other Batgirls, Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain, to go find the Tutor. The same transmitter she has on him is working again, and apparently he's at Arkham Asylum, which again has been closed down, and that took place back in Infinite Frontier. But either way though, you do have Barbara Gordon say she needs to make sure that her friend is okay if the Tutor was able to escape from his facility. And so the Batgirls do split up. Now, of course, when Barbara Gordon does arrive at the facility that Charles Dante works out of, and she is wondering he is okay because, again, the tutor was able to escape from this facility, well, that is the moment she is confronted by Charles Dante, but instead, he is now Spellbinder. And with him being a Spellbinder, she's kind of like, great, I have another villain. And it seems like he is able to capture her, which is a huge problem for all the Batgirls altogether. Now, this is the moment where we actually learn the connection between the tutor and Spellbinder. Now, we learned that when it came to the tutor, he was actually your average kid. He had good grades, he was going to school, but the problem was, though, he did some small crimes and he was arrested by the police. Now, when he was being taken in, that was when he was attacked by the Scarecrow and the fear toxin, which of course led to some damage to his face. Now, he did have a doctor to kind of help him get better in the mind state, and that doctor was Charles Dante. Now, with Charles Dante being his doctor, you had Charles Dante begin to realize that Gotham needs to change, that Gotham is just falling apart, that Gotham needs to break away from the government and the vigilantes. The problem was Charles Dante realized that he does not have that reach to actually control Gotham like he wanted to. And so what he did was he looked at the tutor as a way to change Gotham, because the tutor was becoming somewhat of a famous artist in the city of Gotham. And with him being a famous artist in Gotham, he had that reach to begin the process of actually changing Gotham in the way that Spellbinder wants Gotham to be. And so even though the two of them are kind of working together, Spellbinder is still the one in charge, and the tutor is really the assistant doing all the work. Now, to make things worse for the Batgirls, well, of course, let's not forget the tutor was using a new version of the fear toxin, and with him using that new version of the fear toxin, he was able to control people. With that being said, there is now a group of people surrounding Arkham Asylum, and this group of people are being mind controlled thanks to the tutor. Now, Cassandra Cain is the one outside Arkham Asylum, which means that she's going to have to fight against this crowd of people while Stephanie Brown's still inside, and Stephanie Brown is going to have a different challenge. Now, to get everything set up for the final chapter of this book, you do have Stephanie Brown getting ready to fight against the tutor, which makes sense because throughout this whole story, he has been the one to kind of mind control her, to play with her mind, to basically make her do whatever he wants her to do. And so it makes sense for her to be the one to fight against him, because he has no idea that Barbara Gordon gave her a new kind of filter in her mask to block out his new fear toxin. But at the same time, for Barbara Gordon, well, unfortunately, she has to fight against her ex-fleeing Charles Dante, and he was able to knock her out. And so we have all these different problems just piling up for the Batgirls into the final chapter of this book. But getting into the final chapter of this book, we actually do pick up with Barbara Gordon right now being forced to listen to the villain speech of Spellbinder. Now, of course, you do have Charles Dante tell her everything that I already said earlier on why in the world he's attacking Gotham for. That his goal is to basically change Gotham, to help Gotham break away from the government, from the vigilantes, from the usual thing that the world told us that a city needs to do. And so with that being said, it's also him thinking that he has Barbara Gordon captured. Now, I do want to mention that throughout this story, he did have said some things where it seems like he does know that Barbara Gordon is Batgirl. On top of that, it does seem like he does know that Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain are also Batgirls. Now, how he knows that, I have no idea. But either way, though, he does think he does have Barbara Gordon captured, and there's no way she's going to break free. But of course, she is able to break free and to fight against him. And with her fighting against him, it does seem like at first that she'll be able to actually defeat him and escape. The problem is, though, he does hit her with some fear toxin, which does knock her out once again. Now, for the rest of the Batgirls, Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown, they were able to actually fight against their problems. Remember, when it came to Cassandra Cain, she had to fight against a crowd of people that were being mind controlled by the Tutor. At the same time, Stephanie Brown had to fight against the Tutor by herself, somebody who has been able to mind control her not once, not twice, but at least 3 different times. But either way, you do have our 2 Batgirls being able to finally fight against the Tutor and defeat him for good this time, because their battle does go on for a little bit and they do battle for a while, but of course they are able to actually win the battle, and so that means that the Tutor is once again captured. But the big question is though, what about Barbara Gordon? Because she had to fight against Spellbinder by herself and she was kind of struggling to fight against him. Now, getting back over to Barbara Gordon, we actually see that she was able to defeat Spellbinder. And the reason why, because Spellbinder kind of thought he would be able to beat her very easily because her past with her being in a wheelchair and having an implant. At the same time, that implant is not really working well these days. So he really thought he had a chance to actually defeat her. But of course, that is the moment he comes to find out, because she'd been Batgirl for so long and gone through so many different trials, that she was able to withstand the fear toxin, fight against her fears, and actually defeat him, which does mean that both the Tutor and Spellbinder have both been captured by the Batgirls. Now, I'm going to skip some content and go ahead and jump into the ending of the storyline, and the reason why, because the ending basically sets up what to come in later books. Because while you have the Batgirls right now kind of hanging out in their apartment, relaxing, and finally catching a breath, well, that is the moment you have Barbara Gordon realize that their network is being hacked once again. And of course, the person doing the hacking is a seer, and the seer was their original mission when they came to the hill part of Gotham. But of course, they got distracted by the Tutor and Spellbinder. But either way though, that is when you have Barbara Gordon realize that she's unable to actually stop the hacking. But of course, that is the moment they get a guest at their front door, and the front door opens up, and the person who's out there at their front door is actually Seer herself. The person the Batgirls were looking for and trying to arrest is now at the front door of the Batgirls and actually asking the Batgirls to help her. So now the Batgirls must possibly help out the one bad guy they were trying to capture this whole time. But with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please hit the like button down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time in the next comic book video. Later, guys.